Welcome to the Strong Life Coach podcast, where we speak life, coach life, write life, and lead life. Today, I'm joined in the podcast studio by Joyce Valenzuela. Joyce, welcome to the show.
Hi, Derek. Thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this.
All right. Well, I'm excited about our conversation. Before we jump into the interview, I want people to know a little bit about who you are and your background. Joyce Valenzuela is the founder and principal attorney of JV Law Offices, APC, and focuses her practice on estate planning and probate, personal injury, and criminal defense. As a Mexican American and daughter of immigrants, she understands the needs in her community for education and honest representation. As such, her firm's main focus is to provide clarity, honesty, guidance, and support in times of need in English and Spanish.
Yeah.
Joyce, what inspired you to become an attorney?
Funny enough, I wanted to be a cop originally. I wanted to work homicide. That was what my idea was. But I got to see, there's good and bad in every system. And I think I ran into a little bit of the bad cops, the bad apples that you call. And I wanted to be in a position where I could have a voice for people that were wronged. And I felt that being able to be in the legal field would provide, that, and it would be more fulfilling than being in a place where, you see the wrong, and sometimes it's just very systematic. And I was going to be either, the way I described it, I was either going to be the rat, part of that group, or just be forced to be part of something that I didn't want to be in. I feel like having knowledge in the legal field, it's different. You can help people in different ways.
Yes. Now, so what point during your journey, was that early in childhood? Was that in your teenage years? Or was it even into your undergraduate degree where you started to see, like the cop isn't for me, I want to go this other route? At what point did that trigger go off for you to start thinking about being an attorney as opposed to a cop?
I think it was probably college, probably my sophomore year. I think a lot of us go in thinking we know what we want to do, and we really don't. So I went in as a criminal justice major because I thought that, the next step would be becoming a cop. And then it was during that process where I saw a couple of things like that. And the more classes that I took, the more interest that I took in the legal field and just being in a place to assist. And it wasn't only just by seeing cops, but seeing my mom. My mom is primarily Spanish speaking. She understands English, but I saw little things that would happen to her because she didn't understand the language. She didn't understand the system. And I wanted to be in a place to help people like her. And I think that's kind of where I did the switch.
Yes. Now, given that you had this big change, how did your family, how did your parents respond to you becoming an attorney?
Well, I think my mom was probably glad. My mom's actually an attorney in Mexico, but she hasn't practiced because she's been here. But her mom probably was relieved that I decided to do that, because anytime that I mentioned that I wanted to be a cop, she was just kind of like, that's very dangerous. Do you really want to do that? What if you have a family? Typical things that you hear from a Hispanic mom. And I think she was just very, very glad. Unfortunately, my dad passed away when I was 17. But I think he probably would have been happy and very proud, or at least I'd like to think.
Sure. Wow. No, it's when I hear different attorneys who I've been able to interview, on the podcast and talk about parenting. It's fascinating to hear the background. Of course, I'm sorry to hear about your passing of your dad, but even to hear about your mom and her being that attorney, and I'm just fascinated to hear stories about how the influence of the parents can play a significant role in what career path their children choose.
I think subconsciously she did, because as a little kid, I used to say I didn't want to be any typical career. I didn't want to be a doctor, engineer, an attorney, and here I am.